Thank you, uh, CGC volunteers, for recording the session. Okay, then the participant number is 100. Then I would take this as the best number of the day and I will start the session. Okay, uh, once again, good evening, everyone, and good morning, the people who are in different time zone. Right. So we'll start with the pattern of exam or the details, some of the details of exam on ISC2 website itself. This is publicly accessible. It's not something that it is confidential or something like that. It is publicly available. You can go ahead and check by typing the URL that you see here, isc2.org, and they have registered for their exams or they have downloaded their material, which we are kindly discussing, currently discussing in our sessions. So see, the exam is of around five domains that on security principles, incident response, BCPDR, access control, network security, and security operations. So so far we have covered two domains. Today we are going to cover access control concepts, and then we'll subsequently cover network security and security operations. So the length of exam, right? How long this exam will last, right? So this is about 2 hours of exam. There will be no break. This is a continuous exam. You have to sit and you have to attempt the exam. So number of questions that you can see in exam are 100. So once you complete your 100th question, your result will be immediately displayed. There is no day or two like that. It will be immediately given at the Pearson View Center to you, where you will be able to collect your exam the result, and that will be kind of a pass or fail. So that's something that you can collect immediately. And then item format is basically multiple choice. You will get four choices. One will be correct out of that. There'll be like no two correct answers. So you have to choose the best answer out of that. So the way I'm trying to help you here is, if you are prepared, right? So you can basically look at the options, how those are related to, and then you can select the answers from that multiple choices. So you will be, when you look at the question, you will aware of the choices as well when you are prepared. So passing grade is 700 out of 1,000 points. So there are, for this 100 questions, the percentage is 1,000 points. This is not known to us. It is internally the ISC2 standard. We are not we will be isolated of this information. How this 700 points are decided, right? But we'll get to know about a little bit of weightage. How from where the questions will be coming, what will be the weightage of those questions. So exam will be in English, um, and I'm sure, I think there are other languages also which will be supported. You can inquire with ISC2 before you attempt your exam if you are attempting in some other language if you want, right? And the testing centers is Pearson View Testing Center. There are Pearson View centers across Hyderabad. You can visit them and you can write your exam. Now you block your exam and then you take your dates. So this is how the weightage looks like. The security principles are all about the most important, which holds highest percentage of 26%, where you will see questions coming from the security principle. Subsequently, you see 10% from BCPDR, 22 from access control, network security. You see 24%, and security operations is 18%. So you have to clear all you should basically get passing percentage in all of these domains. Say you are good at security principles and you are bad at all of this rest, then you will not pass the exam. You will subsequently fail the exam. So you have to have a knowledge on all of these five domains. That is the expectations from IIC2 on your CC certification. So okay, so now these are the so I would request you to keep this domains. This is the outline of exam. This is kind of reference for you, that what you have to study, what you have to look at in each of your uh, syllabus. It's a kind of outline that tells you you have to prepare this. This is something that is already given by the ISC2 website itself. So this is something that it gives you very clear details, what and all, each of the domain as an outline. So download this copy, keep it with you for your reference, so that you prepare from the right thing, and then you move on for your exam. Okay. So I will just give you a quick recap, since the domains are here itself. So as part of domain 2, yesterday we have covered the BCP, the business continuity plan. What are the different business continuity plans are available? Uh, I'll definitely send out some questions. I have not prepared it today. For sure, I was working on the domain 3, so I could not prepare it. I will send you the questions latest by today, or tomorrow. We can have it presented on the call itself, so that we can look at the questions. And we also looked at about different disaster recovery plans we have. We looked at different sites that are used as part of disaster recovery strategies. We looked at a warm site, we looked at hot site, we looked at cold site, we looked at redundant sites. We also looked at cloud site reciprocal agreements, right, as part of the disaster recovery. And then we also looked at what is the incident response, right? Incident response is something that we also understood the terminology of threat, the breaches, 0 day attacks, vulnerabilities, intrusions, like a couple of things we looked at yesterday on incident response. And then we also looked at how the incident response plan is all about, right from preparation to lessons learned phase, and then the retrospective event, or the retrospective continuous incident response system. We looked at little bit of information on how the incidents are handled, what is the incident, how an incident is monitored, and how the security operation center team is looking at, the analysts are looking at the incident and how they are responding to it, right? So this is something that we looked at yesterday. And today's, as part of today's session, we are going to look at the access controls. So basically, we will understand some of the core concepts of access control, like defense in depth, which is also called as a layered security, or layered thing. So we will look at the physical controls, the physical security controls, the logical controls, logical or technical controls, or administrative controls. These three things we will be looking at it today. And some of the logical access control concepts, like least privileges, segregation of duties. There are some important topics like discretionary access control, mandatory access control, role based, attribute based, something, a few more I will add it, which we will cover as part of the today's session. Yeah. So with that, we will move to our daily thing. So I'll just go back to the. Yeah. So we'll directly jump into the concepts. So, what is a security control? So we have basically seen, in past also we discussed when we are when we did the risk assessment, what kind of there was something called risk mitigation, right? So we have responded to a risk, saying that we are going to mitigate by having suitable controls. So controls are nothing but safeguards, or a kind of countermeasures that we try to set up in our organization, or in our with respect to our data centers, or with respect to our infrastructure, in order to preserve our again everything that, as I said, right, as part of cybersecurity, we will continuously work towards the CIA triad. So we ensure that our confidentiality, integrity, and availability remains intact, by having such safeguards as a controls or a countermeasures, right? Say for example, there is a threat that you see, right? So you will basically put a safeguard or a control to ensure that those things are basically minimized or mitigated, and you will have your CIA tried, intact all the times, right? So this is something that is all about the controls. So there are different types of controls we have seen in past. So there are like administrative controls, there are physical controls, there are also logical controls. So when we see, right, when we also we need to a little bit understand more about the physical controls. So physical controls, right? So someone might have, many of might have you have a question, right? So why do we need to bother even about a physical control in an industry, in a cybersecurity, right? Why do I need to bother about a physical control? Physical controls are, something I don't care about it. No. So physical security controls are also a kind of, just a second. It's just locked out. Sorry. Yeah. So the physical controls are basically are also equally important when compared to the logical controls or administrative controls. Though when you protecting your organization assets, why? I mean, for example, right? Even a loss of physical control can impact your CI, your confidentiality, integrity, or availability. We can just take one example, right? So you have your office, you have your organization where you are running a very critical business like e-commerce or a banking business, and then all your physical infrastructure, everything is set up in your office, in your organization, and then you don't have a proper physical security associated to that, right? You don't have proper locks or proper entry and exit points in your organization. So basically there is a possibility that you can have a physical attack by the intruders. They'll be able to kind of destroy your servers. They'll be able to take away your hard drives. They'll be able to take away your entire servers that you're set up inside, right? So this is something that also physical security is also equally important as other logical and other securities that the controls that are set up. So how we look at it, cybersecurity is something called as a defense in depth. So which is a very important concept and easy to understand. I will just take you to defense in depth. The strategy or something that you need to incorporate in order to protect your assets within your organization. So defense in depth is also called as layered defense. It is just like having a multiple layers, right? So even even a defense in depth is something that we also follow in our regular lives. It is not that we only follow this as part of the organization. As I said in the starting, security is just a common sense. So we also apply the same in our daily life as well. So for example, you have your house, right? So you also some or the other way, you also have your house in a defense in depth strategy only, right? So you have your house, then you have your perimeter wall, right, which is the boundary wall that you have, and then you have your locks, you have your gate,
Uh,
then you have
Sorry to
locks,
interrupt.
you have
Uh,
your inside there is there are more doors inside, which is basically kind of layers, right? If one is breached, say for example, if someone is able to breach
Excuse me,
the
sir.
boundary wall of
Excuse
your
me, sir.
house by climbing it or by
Hello. We are not able to see anything.
Hello, Arshad. Arshad, can you hear me? Hello, Arshad.
I think
Sir, unable to see the screen, sir.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to inform him. Just hold on.
I just see, okay, screen is visible and you're audible. Okay. Yeah, apologies, team. There was some issue and I was not able to. It's not a malicious attack. Probably there was some malfunction at my side because I'm using the device connector to connect to the big screen here. Probably that has to do something with this. So, I'm on a secure device, guys. Don't worry about it. But a good point. So you people are thinking in terms of cyber. So I'm not sure if how many have heard about the things that I was speaking. So this is the screen that I was sharing, and I was trying to tell you the defense in depth strategy that is used as part of the security controls. So where we have different security controls. If one is breached, at least we'll be protected by other. So that's how the layered approach is taken, and the layered approach is suggested to have your safeguards implemented in order to minimize this cyber attacks. So which is like physical controls, logical administrative controls, right? And then you have your data protected all the times. So this is how the defense in depth approach. And there are, like, as I said, right, about the physical controls. So we'll see each of these physical controls in the detail, little little while, and then we will just go through these slides, some of the slides today. Okay, right. So something that you have to a little bit remember and understand for today's discussion is something called as subjects, and something called as objects, right? So this is just remember. Uh, this is the terminology we will be using, and this is something the terminology we will be asked you also in the exams. So just understand this for now. When we go into the access control points, we will discuss them in detail. So subjects are nothing but a users in an organization, or any of the process or any of the devices which are basically trying to access something within the organization, within the infrastructure that you have set up, right? So subjects are like users, as I said. That could be a device, this could be a workstation, this could be a smartphone, or something like that, which is trying to access something. It is nothing but which is called as an object, right? So object is something. It could be a file, it could be a building, it could be it could be a printer, it could be a database, it could be anything that is set up within your organization, which is serving some purpose for that subject. So we have to understand this concept because we will be relating these topics to how we control the access based on the objects, how we give the permissions to them, what kind of permissions to be given, how our permissions within the organization for the organization data, right? Can we give the access that the way we want, or how we minimize the access, how we control the unauthorized access, for even for the authorized people, how we control the access, right? So it's something that we'll be relating soon when we discuss the other topics. So rules are basically kind of some set of policies that will be applied for an objects allow or to deny the access basically. So these are set of policies. We will definitely discuss when we take some examples. So also control assessments also will be kind of done on the effect to check the effectiveness of the controls, right? So for example, you have found a risk in your organization, and you have been kind of advised to implement so and so controls as part of mitigation strategy, right? So you have implemented that control, but you should not leave it as is. Like you cannot say that my control, I have implemented my control, I am free from that, right? So there should be a continuous assessment should be done. See that there is something we can done, something we can basically do to improvise that control, and also monitor that controls effectiveness as well, right? Whether this control is effectively working, and is it safeguarding my critical infrastructure from intruders, from the bad actors, right? So this is something that is done on needs to be done on a regular basis to ensure that the the controls are effectively working, right? So that's how only you'll get to know that whether my controls are working or not. Okay, so you just found, say for example, it is not like that you have been advised to implement for just sake of ticking the box. You are implementing this control and saying that I am secured. No, so you have to also look at the effectiveness. That's what the assessment is all about. See, that's what the clearly word defines. Risk reduction depends on effectiveness of control, right? So the risk is only reduced when the controls are effectively working for you. Say you have a guard set up at your premises, right? And his effectiveness is something that he's all the time alert, and he's stopping the unauthorized people getting into your premises. This is something that you can check. You can, I mean, it's just an example that we can understand if our control is working or not. Say for example, that person is just leaving everyone into the organization, into your premises without checking their identity cards, or without he is not paying attention to the people who are coming in, right? So in that case, we can say that our control is not working efficiently. We need to improve that by either giving the feedback, or getting a new security guard over there to kind of replace that person for effectiveness of your control. Okay, so this is something that, as an example. Okay, so we also looked at defense in depth. This is how the defense in depth is all about, where you have your different controls, right? To safeguard your assets. Okay. Principle of least privileges, right? So this is something that you have to understand. This is something very important, and these are quite testable in exam. So least privilege, right? So in an organization, right? So for example, what kind of strategy should be followed to kind of give access to the people, right? Say for example, you have uh, you know so least privilege, right? How should I define this? Okay, so you are an IT admin, right? You are in an organization. You are doing a role of IT admin. Your job is your role is an IT admin, right? So you basically do take care of infrastructure, right? Like you will be responsible for some servers within the data center, where you are kind of uh, uh, responsible for seeing that those servers are up and running, right? Those servers are patched with regularly. Those servers are patched, and if there is any memory issues in that, right? So all these aspects will be taken care. If so, for example, if someone is trying to access this server one, right, and he's not able to do that, right? So this IT admin basically helps you to kind of resolve these issues and help you to get an access to the server if you are not authorized. So what least privileges? So the privileges given to this IT administrator should be in a least, I mean, should be minimum, should not be like, I mean, given in more than what he's required, right? So, say for example, he's able to manage with role one, and he's able to do all his job with the role one that is assigned, the privileges that is assigned to him on this particular server or on this particular infrastructure, that is enough for him to do his job. So he's not required to give access, I mean, more than what is required to do his job. Right? So least is something that you give him minimum that solves the purpose, that his job is done for the day. He is not supposed to be given access something where more something where critical servers are there, and then he's not supposed to get an access over there, right? So the access should be limited, the access should be given in a minimal fashion to people so that they do their job and they complete the job, and then they finish their tasks. This is something that you have to follow, right? So for example, we can take one more example. So there is on any of the given server, right? Say for example, there are different types of roles that are available. So one is user, as I said, as we discussed in past, user and an administrator. Right? So administrator is something which has got more privileges, right? Advanced privileges. He can change some settings. He can do a lot of additional tasks that the user cannot do, right? So user is only something that he can do very minimal job. Right? He can view the files, right? He can access the system, right? But he will not be able to do any configuration changes or so on and so forth. Right? So for a user to work or to do his daily job, right? He is required to give an user role. That's enough. That's enough for him to do his job. Not He is not supposed to get an admin role. It is not needed at all. So this is something that is called as a least privileges. So you will be only given the access that is required for you to do your job and no additional privileges. So if you need additional privileges, of course, there is something called need to know, where you have to prove or where you have to give an explanation that why I need an admin level access. Why do I need this access? So someone should be there within the organization who will be approving that access. So he will be looking at what is the reason that you have asked, for how many days you have asked, right? And then if your job, requires you to go to a next level of administration from the user, right? Of course, you will be given an access, but on a need to know basis, right? First is the least privileges, and then if you need additional, it has to be go through some set of approvals documented in system saying that you have requested for this access for so and so date and so purpose, and a clear approval from the business heads or the respective owners of this particular server, then only you will be given access. So that is something least privileges and need to know access, need to know basis. Right? That's something that we have to understand. So what basically least privilege accesses do, right? So it preserves the confidentiality. So you have been given access to the authorized people, what they are required to do. You are not giving more of information to them, which could result in breach of confidentiality, unnecessary accesses, kind of controlled, and only which is required is given to the users. Okay, so that's about the uh, privileges, least privileges. We'll go through this privilege access management a little bit, but I will just give you one more topic. Okay, so there's something called as a privileged access management. This is also part of your domain. So privileges are like, as I said, always having a special access. They are given to the system administrators. They were given to IT help desk support, right? They're given to security analysts. So these are something which are having an elevated accounts. So I will just go through that rather than discussing on the paper. So the privilege access, right? So privilege access is nothing but it has got special permissions to do certain tasks in the servers. Say for example, in an organization, in a data center, right? So there will be a different type of servers you have, right? This is your data center, entire data center, right? And then you have different type of servers here. Like, this could be Windows servers, this could be a Linux servers, the combination. The data center is always having a combination of servers. So Linux, right? So this could be some other, virtual machines, right? This is existing in the data center. So always to control these servers, to do configuration changes. Say for example, an application, right? An application which will be hosted for business users, right? These are the people who are these are applications which will be accessed by business in the sense like a normal users. Say for example, you have we will take an example as a kind of an e-commerce website, right, where you are going to do a shopping, where you do an online shopping. So these particular applications are somewhere hosted in the servers, right? Somewhere hosted in these machines, which are basically giving you an access. So there are like configurations which will be done at the firewall level and other things, which will be given as an URL to you, where you will be accessing and you will be kind of doing your shopping. So that is something as, right. But as in the data center, as in the jobs of IT administrators or security administrators, is something that behind the scenes, which you are not aware of. So this is something that your applications are deployed here, right? So what a privilege access is. So there is a team who is basically accessing the servers, right? They are accessing it, and they are ensuring that these servers are up and running. For what purpose they access is up and running. Those servers are up and running. Those servers are patched with latest security patches, and those are like not going out of say for example they are stuck, they are not responding. So this application which is deployed on this server will also not respond at the end of the day. So business will suffer. So what the job of an admin is basically to set right those problems, like get into that server, see what is the problem. If it is out of memory or if it is crashed for some reason, then they go and do the configuration changes, and then they get it back to the normal stage. So this requires to do these jobs, right? This requires some privileges, right? Privileges in the sense, um, uh, additional rights or kind of an access to the server with an high level of you know privileges for you, so that you can do your job on time, right? So and why these accounts are looked at seriously is because these are having an privileges, right? Additional privileges or excessive privileges, and protecting these accounts becomes very important, because what is the hacker's mindset is, right? When he comes into the server, or when he looks for the access to server, right, basically he will try to do a privilege escalation. So privilege escalation attack is nothing but he'll try to gain access to this particular admin's account, okay, account and password, right? So once he gets gets hold of this account and password, right, then there's everything for him. So he'll be able to get into the server. He can do whatever he wants. He will be able to shut down the server. He'll be able to delete the data entirely into that server. He'll be able to exfiltrate the data also. When I say exfiltrate, it's basically taking away the data from that server, right? It's entirely the confidentiality, the availability has been at the tops. So this is something that's where the privilege identities has to be managed on a properly, so that the unauthorized people are not getting access to this privilege administration. Because what if hackers will not look for a normal account? They don't need it, because it doesn't have any permissions, so it is not going to make any meaning for him. But he gets hold of a privilege account, then there is a lot of meaning for him, right? So that's why we say about managing the privilege accounts. So there are different ways and means to manage privilege accounts. So there are some technology, there's some controls that are there within the organization, within with organization can basically establish. So there is I am just covering this topic because there is a huge potential in this area. There is requirements in this, where your privilege administrators, how to manage the privilege admin access within the organization. So there are
different types of tools which are available within the from the vendors, right, to kind of manage this privileged accesses. So ensure that their passwords are not you know uh, kind of kept loosely. Their passwords are strong enough. They have a strong auditing on these accounts. When I say account auditing on these accounts, whatever the the administrator is doing, their entire events has to be recorded, right? When I say recorded, it will be a video recording. Say for example, he's doing in the server, he's making a changes, he's deploying, he's restarting the server, the entire event will be recorded. Okay, there are tools, I'll talk about those tools a little bit as well. So this entire aspects what they are doing is recorded, and sometimes it is in the critical areas, it will be audited also. Audited in the sense, someone will be looking at the from the auditor perspective, someone will be looking at the live records, saying that if this admin is doing some malicious activities on this server, then they will be immediately closing or his session so that the activities of the malicious activities are stopped on that server. So there are different tools do privilege access management. Like there's a tool called Archon. There are a lot of tools within the organization, within the many organizations implement from different vendors. So there is a quite good opportunity, and this privilege identity management has been a kind of important taken as a very important thing, because losing of privileged accounts results in huge impact. So that is the reason what they do is they have this controls specially established, and there are special teams, there are special teams, right from the requirement. It could be right what kind of jobs are there in this area is um, you know privilege, I mean, like support analysts are there. The requirement is from support analyst, support side, implementation, and also the yeah, these are the both things. So once you implement, then you start doing a supporting activities. So these are something that is there, and you can basically see if you can get into these courses, and you can try and see how you can get a job in this area. So this is privilege management is very important topic. So I just covered it a bit more. So go to the slides. See, that's what privilege accounts are, those permissions beyond the normal users, such as managers and administrators. So, where they have more access, that's what the privilege is all about. Privilege is something you have additional things. It's a system administrators, help desk, ID support, at security analyst. So these are kind of roles which are the privilege accounts. Okay. So that is what I was discussing about the abuse of privilege related access. So as I said, if this goes into the wrong hands, then there is a challenge always to see what's happening with the privilege account. So this has to be taken care with, hyper care has to be taken for this. So just a second. Yeah, one more thing that we have to understand is about segregation of duties. So this is also one of the core concept of your cybersecurity. So by having a segregation of duties, right, you will be able to kind of prevent and detect any kind of fraud that is happening. So there are quite good examples we can take and discuss on this. Um, Segregation is basically depends on what kind of job you are doing, right? So we will get into the some examples of this. So how this segregation of duties, right, will protect you from detecting a fraud or preventing a fraud within the organization. So segregation of duties is basically, say for example, you are work. We will take one HR as or a finance. or yeah. So see, a segregation of duty is basically to segregate the accesses. So say for example, you in your organization, you can raise the invoice. Okay, as part of your job, you will be raising invoice. You are kind of raising some invoices, and at the same time, and when you raise the invoice, basically it will go for some approvals, right? Someone will approve it, right? So this is one. These are two kind of accepts, aspects when you look at the invoice raising. So say for example, if the combination is that the person who is raising the invoice, right, also has an access and an access to approve it, right? So this is called as a toxic combination, right? Because the person who is raising the invoice also having an authority to approve, right? So this is not the right combination. So this is something that there is a clear thing that we can see here. The fraud can happen where we will be able to, where the person is just raising the invoice and he is approving. No one is looking at it. So this is something, the duties has to be segregated. One who has got an access of submitting the invoice should not have the authority to approve it, right? So that is something that has to be taken care when the access is provided. Say for example, you as a user, you as an employee, we'll take another example, has an you know access to raise your leave request, right? So obviously this will go for approval for your manager, right? It will go for your manager. So he approves or not, that's a secondary thing. The thing is, if say example, you have an access to raise a request, raise a leave request, and same time you approve it. So done, right? All is done. So you, whenever you want, you will go ahead on your leave. Whenever you want to raise, you will raise it and you will take a leave, right? Because the toxic combination is present here. You have got both the accesses. So this is something, segregation of duties. So what you are supposed to do, you should have that access. So as a user, you should have access to only do certain things, and certain things related to approvals, or certain things which related to something which needs some action has to be segregated correctly. So there are multiple examples that we can take, but this is something that I think which is enough for us to understand what is the segregation of duties. So the duties has to be segregated, the the access has to be separated so that they don't become a kind of different combinations, and that can basically resulting in a fraud, right? So it is all fraudulent activities which is to be protected. Some examples we can take, like a developer should not have access to production data. So there are like a lot of examples. If you go through in internet, also you can search what is the examples of segregation. So I've just given you a couple of examples. Okay, so I think we should hit for a break. I believe so. I will just we can join back at 7:40. Okay. Okay, I'm back. If everyone is back, please just give a thumbs up or raise your hands. Naushad, I think I'm still audible to you people, right? Okay, thank you, Usman, for confirmation. Okay, so we will start with our session. We will continue with our session. Sorry. Okay. There's some concepts which we have to understand about the user provisioning and user deprovisioning. Something that how users are provisioned in organization. How when I say provisioning, it's a concept. The meaning in English is creation. I mean, giving access to someone, and deprovisioning is something opposite to that, removing his access when no longer required. So we have to understand a little bit of some of the aspects of how the accesses are given when an employee joins an organization, when he's what kind of access is given to him, how his accesses are checked or audited on a regular basis to prevent an internal fraud or internal threat, right? So the threat is not just the cybersecurity not just looks the threat only from one angle, that is there is only a threat that is coming from the external. No, the threat will also be as much as as good as from the internal also. So threat is the scenario could be from internal employees or internal thing, and also from the external is something that always we look, but also we do the complete due diligence to ensure that there is also the internal threat is also mitigated by having suitable controls. Okay, so we will just see when an employee joins into organization, how he gets the access, right from the from his coming into the organization, changing his roles, and then moving out from the organization. Okay, so this is something an employee, okay, has an employee joined the organization, okay, on the role of say for example as a analyst. Okay, he joined the organization as analyst, SOC analyst. Okay, okay. So how the joining happens is right from the involvement of HR, right? Human resource team, who will basically interview, who will check his competency, whether he is suitable for the job or not, and then they hire him basically. Okay, so that's when the entire story starts. He will be the day of the onboarding comes in, right? Onboarding is done by HRs. So there is a system called HR system. Oh, I'm sorry. There is something called HR system. Okay, where they will basically do all their checks, the background checks, the required things, right? So those are nothing but administrative controls. Again, everything that can look at is uh, you know from the controls perspective. So they do background checks, BGV, right? This is also something as part of cybersecurity also. So We also say that the BGV has to be done. So the BGV is something that will be done, and then they confirm that the person is ready to join the organization. So they put the entire details, like employee ID, his email, all those things, his name, address, and everything, and they basically uh, you know create his record into the organization. Okay, so once he joins in the organization, everyone has joined the organization for some purpose, right? They have some roles and responsibilities to be done in the organization. So as a SOC analyst, I will be responsible for handling the entire SOC incidents that are coming my way. So as per my role, I need to have right accesses to be provided to me, right? And as part of say for example, someone has joined as part of an administrator. He joined as an IT admin, or someone has joined as a IT support help desk, right? So they all have their specific jobs, they all have their specific roles to do something in the organization. So once he joins, so that is nothing but the onboarding activity. So the day he joins, his employee record is created, and then based on his roles and responsibilities, right? His access will be determined, right? So his access will be given. So that is something called as, say for example, he needs access on two to the servers, or 2 to 3 files. He needs an access to a database. He needs access to the files. He needs access to the servers, right? So all this will be provision to him. Provision in the sense, the accesses will be given to this particular identity, right? So he will be, once he joins the organization, he has to do some task, right? So he will be given access on this database, on this particular files, or on this particular servers. So this is called as user provisioning. Okay. So provisioning in the sense, like the accesses will be created here, the respective record, will be created here, will be created here. I mean, his identity basically. His identity will be created here. So that when he logs into the system, when he logs into this, when he try to access this file, or when he's trying to access this server, he will be identified and he will be given the access. Okay, so that is called as user provisioning concept. But this could be not just to an this is one example I've given. This could be databases file. This could be an applications also, where he is going to do some some more in his job. For example, he'll be getting access to payroll, right? Payroll applications, because he need to check his salary, he need to apply his the income tax and other things, right? So the payroll applications, there could be a cab application, right? He needs to book a cab, right? There are a lot of applications that he needs to be having access on a day-to-day basis, right? So there could be a timesheet application, where he will be basically recording his how many hours he's working in a day. So this is something that again, the records are created basis on the need to him in an organization. This is called as a user provisioning concept. Okay, so there is something also called as user modification, like user say for example, enhancing his roles, or a modification or a role change, right? So when the user basically changing his role, like for example, he has worked on analyst role for a year. Okay, now he got promoted in a year or two, he got promoted into a different role as a lead. Okay, now he got a new role of lead. So the organization policy should be there. I mean, there'll be an organization policy basically, which will grant him access, right? Grant access on a, grant him access to the lead level role. Okay, so his entitlements, his roles will be changed basis his new role that he is tied into. So he might still hold the previous accesses which are in the same job function. He will be getting the additional roles. Say for example, if he's, one scenario is that, right, he got just promoted in a different role, right? Or for example, he's moving from one role to, one job profile to another job profile. Say he was working for IT earlier. Now he is moving to some other, SOC role, right? So now he's been transitioned from IT to SOC. So now what the act will be adjusted in a way that his IT roles are remote from him, and he will be given the access to SOC roles, because this is the thing that we are following, right? Need to know basis, the least privileges. This is something that, right? So this is something that will be adjusted accordingly when he is changing his roles or moving to new roles, or catching up the new roles in the organization. So that is about user modification, and the other part is user deprovision. So why deprovisioning is, say for example, now the day has come, he's leaving the organization, okay, leaving the org, or he's been asked to leave, anything, okay, anything could be possible, okay. So he has resigned and his last date has come in. So the accesses, right, which he has got so far as a user, right? So he is holding multiple accesses, multiple databases, multiple servers, multiple applications, whatnot. A lot of access he has got in the organization, right? So these accesses has to be removed, okay, on an priority basis, so that there is no internal threat associated with that, okay. Because say for example, he has left the organization, and someone, I mean, there is a chance that the accesses has not been removed from his portfolio, or from his particular from his from the access side. So those are not removed, right? And he is not part of the organization. He has left the organization. The deprovisioning has not been performed properly. Then there is a complete chance that this will become a threat, where he will be able to access these applications once even he's out of the organization. So he knows the passwords, he knows the identities, right? So he'll be still trying to access, and he'll be still holding the access. So this way, the access has to be removed, and ensure that there is no orphan account. So what I say is, orphan account is nothing but the account which is not associated to anyone, right? So in this case, what happens, right? For example, if the access is not removed, and the access is there forever, right? So this becomes a kind of a potential threat, where someone who is an I mean, who is an hacker, who has come in into the, and he will be looking for some orphan accounts. If it is by chance, if it is having enough privileges, then he will be leveraging that account, and he will be basically using that account. So such accounts has to be removed, and such accounts has to be basically dealt in a way that it doesn't become an internal threat, okay. So entire life cycle is called as identity management, okay. Identity access and identity governance, basically. So we will just understand this as identity management for now, okay. And also one additional thing that will be done on periodic basis is something called as access reviews, okay. So this is access review is nothing but, on a periodic basis, the employee access will be reviewed to see that he is having the right privileges. It's just a check. It's just a kind of auditing, okay. Say for example, he has requested for an access for 6 months, okay. It was approved, but someone has forget to remove the access from the particular user, right? So he will be still holding the access for after 6 months. So the if the access reviews are done on a periodic basis, the the if the auditing is in place, right? So they will look at, say for example, this X person has requested for access for 6 months, and after 6 months also he's still holding this access. So then the access will be removed, because he's no longer required the access, or he needs to give an explanation why he needs the access after even 6 months. So if there is no proper explanation, then the access will be removed. So this is part of access reviews. Overall, this is case identity management. Again, I want to give a bit of more information here. There is a good scope here as well. There is a lot of you know the identity and access management side, right? In the support implementation, again, there are different tools which are support and implementation. There are different tools which are there, like called as vendors, SailPoint, we have Savient, a lot of tools basically that comes in. So through this so the concept just we learned, right? The user right from provisioning, the user modification, and then user deprovisioning. So this is something are basically managed or properly controlled by these particular tools, which is SailPoint and Savient. So this is something that it becomes when the organization has grown to a very big extent where a lot of users, right? You can basically do these activities manually for like 50 to 10 to 50 users. 50, if a company is there with 10 to 50 employees, you can do the activities manually. But if the organization grows, if the organization has, like, for example, 5,000 to 10,000 employees, right? Doing this manually, the entire thing for each employee is not possible. So that's the reason there is a technology solutions that are in place to help out for the organization to manage their identity life cycle efficiently and effectively, so that they don't leave any of the accounts which are, like, orphan in nature, or they have entire control on their access basically. So this the entire identity lifecycle management is done by the Savient and other. You can explore this. This is a bit of programming area. Just to give you a highlight, heads up. This is a programming area. Okay. Uh, Support, of course, does not require a programming, but implementation does require a bit of programming. When you have a good understanding about the different systems, programming like Java, programming like Python, right? So these are something that are you need to also understand the REST, the concepts of REST-based API calls, right? So it's all about technology, technical implementation. So if you are planning to go, or if you have some things, then you can basically look at these tools. Even in India, and as well in the other countries, these identity management is on high demand. Um, there are people, the shortage of people. There are people are, like, if someone wants to take the career in this, there are also institute that's just offer uh, training on the SailPoint and Savient. You can take them, and then you can see how you can learn them. Okay, this is identity management. So this is how users are provisioned, a new employee, change of positions, separation of employment. And I say separation of employment, which is, when they leave the company, right? Depending on the company's policies and procedures, their access has to be removed. Their account has to be disabled. Their on the on the last date, the account has to be logged in such a way that he's not going to use that account further. So these are the three aspects of how the users are provisioned in organization. Okay. Mm. Yeah. So I have written some topics on this particular thing. So let's go to that. Okay. So just trying to understand. Yeah, physical. Let's go into the physical controls. So physical are basically right. That's something you can feel. You can look at them. You can see those are things, or those things are there, right? So physical. So physical controls, right from the locks, fences, right? You have your fences set up for your premises, where you see that basically no one can basically enter your premises. You have your guards, your dogs, you have your gates. This is something called bollards. This is basically a kind of protection. You can just check it in the Google. You will get some things that are installed, so that those are not uh, uh, someone is not breaching into your premises with some vehicle and all. So this is something that are strong built things which are there, which are put to kind of prevent them. So see, there are six different types of controls that we need to understand. Each one have their a bit of importance. So you have preventative controls, you have detective controls, you have corrective controls, you have recovery controls, you have deterrent controls, you have compensating controls. So each one of them have their have some importance for that, right? So for example, right, you have a camera as a physical, right? A CCTV camera. So basically, what a CCTV camera can do is, right, it can be, basically it can be a combination of detective control. Say, for example, you are monitoring uh, you know, um, the entire, premises with the CCTV, and then with the cameras, you'll be able to detect if some suspicious person is around, right? So this is kind of a detective control it comes into, and also it is a kind of preventive control also, where it prevents a person kind of getting into your premises, seeing it at the cameras, right? So and also it's also a deterrent control. When I say deterrent control, what happens is, for example, you have with a camera, CCTV cameras around your premises. You mentioned that and a note saying that our premises are 24/7 under surveillance, right? So this is something that makes the bad guy to think. It will deter. Basically, it will kind of put a thought on him, saying that these premises are already kind of under surveillance, and getting into this area could land him into the trouble, right? So even having a note of saying that beware of dogs, right? So that's a kind of deterrent control, which deters thieves, or the bad guys, to kind of stop coming into your premises. So this is something that a kind of controls. Even a light. Say, for example, you have proper lights, in your premises, which are kind of deterrent and detective controls, right? So what happens is, if you have proper lighting, right, there is always a possibility of a person getting noticed. So he will basically deter from doing that particular action. He will be keeping himself away, that if he comes into that radar, he will be caught, right? Or something that is a kind of detect. It's a kind of deterrent control. So there is a gate, for example, right, as a physical control, right? So there is a gate that could be a kind of preventive. Again, it is not a detective. Okay, it cannot detect, basically. So there is a category they fall in somewhere to the controls. Preventive, of course, gates are preventive controls which prevent someone to get into your premises. So similarly, having a firewall, or from the logical control perspective, logical and technical control perspective, right? You have a segregation of duties, right, to detect a fraud. So those are nothing but a detective controls. So this applies to each of the controls, the physical, logical, or guys. I just have to take a quick break for a few seconds. I'll be back. There's someone at the door. I'll be back. Quick break. I'm just going back to the scenario. So this is this is how the controls are segregated, or the controls are understood from the logical controls perspective, right? Logical or technical controls, they are one of the same. technical and logical. So technical controls are like, as I said in the past, there could be a firewall, which basically detects and prevents the attack from happening. All right. There is also an intrusion detection system, intrusion system, right? So those are nothing but which are again, kind of preventive and detective controls, and there are also kind of corrective controls, which basically what steps to be taken after you have been hit by an attack, right? So fixing a problem, right? This is something that corrective is something fixing a problem. So what kind of problem? Say for example, you have been hit by an attack because you had a vulnerability in your system, you had a weakness in your system, and then once you recover from that, once you have back, right? So the corrective control is to what it says is patch that system, ensure that there is a that particular vulnerability or weakness which was there, you patch it. So that's kind of corrective control, so that the spread is minimized, and you have taken a corrective action on that, right? So the recovery controls are basically are kind of uh, you recover from an incident right after an attack. So you have your backups, you have restored your backups, and you have cleaned your systems with you have run your antiviruses and everything, see that there is no trace of virus in that. So those are little but recovery controls. So compensating control is another one that you have to understand a bit. So compensating control is it's a kind of thing that you put it as part of say if it is not possible to have a control, then you we'll take one example here. So say for example, you have in your premises, you see that there is an area from where there is a possible that the breach can happen. Someone from that area, it's a possible that the intruder can come in your physical premises. So the compensating control is you employ a guard over there, a security guard over there, right? This is a compensating control. You saw something, and then you're putting a compensating control to minimize the damage over there. So you have your guard who is going to secure your area. Okay. So these are kind of controls that you need to be aware of. And we've also looked at least privileges, need. We'll come into administrative controls a bit once we discuss the logical controls. The logical controls are a little important for us at this point in time. So logical access controls are, the logical controls. So there's something called as DAC, discretionary access control. So this is something again, we just need to understand about this. So as I said, subjects and subjects are nothing but users. When I said user one and user two, and the objects are nothing but the files. Okay, the information that he wants to access. Okay, so the discretionary access is something that the access is decided by the owner of the file, or owner of the uh, basically owner who owns that particular information, or who owns that particular server. Say for example, we can take one classic example as as we said that we'll be giving you the access to our presentations and our things, right, at the end of this, I mean, when we complete our sessions, right? So this is something that we give you the access, and the access will be at our discretion, right? What kind of access we give it to you? Either we give you the read access, or we give you the edit access, right? So it's completely at our discretion, at CGC's discretion, that what kind of access will be given to you, right? So that is something the owners will be deciding. For example, you have in Windows system, you have a file, okay? You have a file, and you are owner of the file. You have created that file. Say for example, you have done some nice presentation about something, right? Now it is at your discretion what access you are going to give it to others. You are the owner of that file. So you say, I will only give everyone a view access. I don't want anyone to copy that file. If someone copies, I am not willing to do that. I am only giving you the view access. Just take it, read it, and learn from that. Right. So that's at the discretion of the owner who has created that file. So similarly on the database also. So I have created database, right, and I want to give access. So I could give the access the way I want. I can give them read only. I can give them the write. I can give them the edit access, whatever that at my discretion. Okay, so that is about the discretionary access, and this is generally followed in the area where there is no critical data. Okay, as a normal information is there, that's something that is followed. Okay, there is something called mandatory access, MAC. Okay, which is basically used in high security environments like government and some defense organizations where the information is very critical. The information is very important. You cannot just give it at your discretion. Okay, so the information is basically labeled. Uh, they have something called the information is the objects are labeled, and the users are having clearances for that to access the data. Say, for example, the label is like top secret data, right? So this top secret clearance is given to the users. Then only they will be able to access. So this information, these mandatory access control are, as I said, implemented in highly secured environments or highly restrictive environments. They follow this particular approach. Okay, so they have top secret data, they have secret data, they have confidential data. Okay, so how we'll go a little bit into deeper on this. So we have top secret, we have file 1 and file 2. We have secret data, we have file 1 and file 2. We have confidential data, file 1 and file 2. Okay, so subjects with the clearance of top secret will be able to access the files, okay, which are at the top secret level. Okay, they'll be able to access, and if there are different types of access in that, hierarchical and uh, compartmentalized, we'll go to that in a while. So the subjects with what clearance they have, they will be able to access the files they need. Okay, and say for example, in a person, a subject, right? A subject is nothing but a user. I always, I mentioned in the starting. So a subject is a user who is trying to access, who's got a clearance of secret. Okay, he'll be able to only access the data at the secret with the clearance of secret. He will not be able to access anything at the top level because that is not allowed for him. He is not clear to access that because he might be having a less role, or he might not be entitled to access this top secret clearance. Okay, so that's where the accesses are controlled in organization in a high secured environment. Okay, so there is something called hierarchical and compartmentalized. Hierarchical is something that once you get a top clearance, right, you will be able to access the file 1, file 2, and file 3 subsequently because you have a top clearance. And also, if you be also you will be able to access the below levels as well. You will not be permitted to access something above. We will talk about that. But something, if you are at a hierarchical, if this is implemented, then you will be able to access the top and below ones. But when it comes to the secret person, right, the secret data clearance, you will be able to access the one you have and the below one, but not the above one, right? So you will not be able to secret, as I said. You will be, the green ticks are something that I will be able to access with my clearance, but when it comes to the top secret, I will not be able to access because I don't have the permission over there. I don't have the clearance at all. Okay? This is the hierarchy. And compartmentalized is basically a bit more stringent in terms of accessing the information. uh, I might only get the access with the top clearance as well, right? So I will be getting access to only the files which I am entitled to. Say for example, we have put the segregations. We have compartmentalized. We have isolated the each of the domains basically. Say for example, we have you know we have a HR, and then we have other domains, other compartment. We have segregated the access basically. So what the entire thing is in compartmentalized is, basically you will be able to access only the one which you have the access. You will not be able to access the other compartment because this is isolated to you. This is more stringent and more compared to hierarchical, it is little bit stringent, and it will give you only the access that you are supposed to. Okay, so like different projects. So for example, you belong to the project 1, you will be only able to access the data of project 1, not to the project, not supposed to get there. because there is some other information which is critical to them. So you cannot access that in compartmentalized. So this is the MAC. Uh, Remember that this is used in high security environments. Okay, and coming to the role-based access control, the role-based access control is basically decided on the role. Okay, say for example, you are part of HR department, right? So then you are going to get the role on HR group. Okay, you will be only able to access that particular role that you are in. And say for example, you are into the group of payroll, right? Your job role is about payroll. You are into the domain of payroll, and then you do the entire payroll. So why do you need access to the HR group or IT admin or network team? Right? You are not supposed to go there. So your role says you need this access, so you will be given the access based on your roles. Okay. If there is something required, of course, there is always need to know. There is a policies will be in place, and approvals will be in place so that you get the access over there. Okay. That is about role based access. This is your role. The access is provided to you. There's something called attribute based access also is there, which is also called as a fine grained access. So when I say attribute, right, this is something that say for example, every person a user will have an attributes, right? User will have an attribute. So attribute is his location, his position, right? His basically, yeah, the position and location are fine to take as an example. So basis this location and basis this position, the access will be determined. Say for example, I come from this location. Okay, I'll get this access. Say for example, I am at the position of leadership. I will get the access of so and so things. If I am at the position of the lead or a below lead, or I am an analyst, I'm a beginner, I will get basis my position, I will get the access. So based on my attribute, the way I look, the way I appear, right, in the organization, basis that the access is provided to me, and something called also an IP address as well, right? From the way from which area I'm coming, basis that also the accesses are determined and defined in attribute based access control. They are like more drilled down than a role based. Role is something that just says, okay, this is the role, this is the access you're getting. But if you want to control your access more stringently, more fine grind, ensure that the people are only getting the access what they need. So you have to also go for something called attribute access, which is difficult to manage, but yes, it is something that is implemented and people are getting access basis their attributes as well. Okay. And there's something called rule-based access control that we need to understand. So rule-based access control is nothing but the access is given on the rules, certain rules. Okay, the rules are set up based on, say, we can take one example as firewalls. So rules are set up in firewall to kind of say allow only this particular traffic. Okay, allow this traffic from this IP address on. Allow this traffic from only this particular ports, or only allow the high HTTPS traffic. So on this HTTPS and other things we will read about, we'll go and discuss in detail when we discuss about encryption and other things. But this is something called as rule-based access. Okay. Uh, yeah, looks like yeah, yeah. I think we are done with the set of things. Let me just check if there is anything on the uh, on the slides to see if that I have missed something for the day. Yeah, there are different types of physical access controls, like you have barcode scanners, you have magnetic stripes. Like you just use them to kind of get into access with the organization. It's something that you can just go ahead and read. Um, this is something that environment design, you can read it. We will discuss this if required. Yeah, all this comes under the physical or the logical things, the biometrics and other things. We have cameras, it comes under the monitoring, security guards as a monitoring, right? Yeah, I think we are almost done. What's supposed to be covered as part of the DAC, what as covered as part of the MAC. So here are some examples also, right? See, there are the different users as part of the DAC example. You can go ahead and read these examples. You understand, you relate it what we discussed, right? The DAC has something that do with the discretionary access control, where owner decides what permissions will be given to the others, right? So yeah, so this is the mandatory access control, where uh, we just discussed that this is something that we do in high secured environments. So it says, for example, certain government agencies, persons must have certain type of security clearance to get the access on certain areas. So this is a MAC. We have studied about role-based access control. Are back in the workplace. We have taken some examples. Yeah. So that's all for the day. I hope you had uh, good information on the access controls, and just to hold on, what is something that we discuss tomorrow, is that something we'll look at it immediately so that we have some information on that as well. So also I need some thing that you guys come back tomorrow when we discuss about network security. So network security is related to more towards the networks, right? So I want you to have understanding about information on the IP addresses. What is an IP address? What is a port? What is a traffic? Internet traffic is something that you have to understand a bit, so that we can, when we make a discussion, right, we'll have some understanding as well. So this is something that there are some core concepts are there in this. I will see how we can cover areas, what interesting examples can be given to make the session more informative to you. So we'll understand different types of threats, different types of distributed denial service attacks, what is virus, swarms, trojans, man in the middle, sometimes something called side channel attacks, right? Or something that we all look tomorrow at the networking security. This is something that we are going to cover. This one probably a little, I would say, a big domain, I would say, but we'll see how we can get you the information. Okay, I think it's the time for questions. I will just, stop the sharing for. I'll stop the sharing. Um, Yes, I have seen people, asking for slides. Yes, of course, we will share the slides, but let us complete the session. Uh, on the end of this session, we will, collate everything. We will make those things ready for you, and then we'll send it out, because at the moment, those slides are there. Of course, can be shareable, but we'll take some time to kind of put them in the manner that they're supposed to be, and then we will send it out. Okay, so that's the answer for people who are asking for this from a long time. Yes, yes, we will definitely give you that things. Okay. Someone has asked, Abdullah Siddiq has asked, the privilege access management comes in SOC or access management. It is part of access management, Abdullah. uh, SOC is pretty much there to kind of monitor the uh, incidents on a day-to-day basis. That does not comes into privilege access management separate, which has comes under the access management, identity and access management team. Thank you, Mr. Azimuddin, for a wonderful comment. We'll try to get you multiple examples to kind of help you out. I will just share the comments. I'm just reading if you want. Yeah. What are the entry level skills needed for SOC analyst? Osman, I'm not 100% from the SOC background, but there are people in our CGC group who have dusted in the SOC and SOC thing. So they will definitely. I mean, we as a team will help you out to understand what are the entry level skills needed for SOC analyst. Okay. Mohammed Nuruddin Ahmed, right? You are asking, is there anything that we can see in live during our session and understand the attack? And see, this is not a practical class or something where you are expected to do this. Neither the exam asks you for that. So the exam is expecting you to understand the topics and explain it to someone else once you understand them, right? Um, So that's something that we are not expected to do, to look at the attacks or some viruses. Okay, this is more done in some specific classes like ethical hacking or something, where you are given a lab and then you try and see simulating some attacks, compromising some systems or breaking into some systems by using different tools within the Kali Linux or something like that. But this session is not for that. Okay, just to keep you informed on that. When you're conducting the exam, please tell me the exam date before 3 days. Samyukta, I am not the person who is going to conduct the exam. The exam is something that you have to register and you have to take the exam in Pearson View through the appropriate channel. It's something that we are not conducting an exam. Okay, I just want to give you an update. Thanks, Usman Ali, for your comment. We will make it better the day as the day is passing. How to start your careers as a cybersecurity specialist. So this course is basically Mahavish Sheikh, I believe, right? So basically is a kind of stepping stone for you, where you are going to get understanding on how to what are the terminologies, what are the different things all about cybersecurity is something that you are learning, and you are just stepping into the domain of cybersecurity. So as a specialist is the one who basically achieves this after a certain period of time, right? So you have to start things into cybersecurity. It's how can we start our career as cybersecurity specialist? So definitely, we at CGC team are kind of working on in the areas how we can basically start or give you some guidance on that, how to start your careers in cybersecurity. Um, so there's some wait and watch for more details from CGC on this. So yes, recorded sessions will be shared at the end of the at the last session. Tips and tricks to prepare for the exam. Yes, Syed, there are tips and tricks. You have to practice the exams, the material that is given to you. You can get into you can understand the questions. You need to have uh, you know information about the things that we discuss. You should be thorough with the topics. What is risk? What is risk management? What are the different types of risk actions that you take? What is CI triad? You should be completely aware of this, and then you can practice the papers. Um, Thank you, Samikta, for your response. How can we start our careers in cybersecurity? Yes, we will. We are. That's what we are. As I said, we are trying to. Uh, this is just a start. We are working on that aspects to see how we can align people. Can we start the CCNA as a beginning? Yes, as I said, right, you can learn CCNA. There is nothing, there is no harm in that. It's always comes as an added advantage. You can share as a question patterns. I need to look at the question patterns, but there are definitely dumps or something that are given as part of the CC already, I believe. So you can look at this once you. So what we will do is, uh, I think you can basically register and then you can get it. I don't think so. Something that is available already, right? So you can just register. You will get the details about the practice questions as well. So, Mohammed Mujahid, you have asked about that I'm practicing Python and other things, language. Yes, you can, for yeah, if to become an ethical hacker, right, you need to have the skill set of, you need to basically go through the CEH exam. You have to have that training done, and then you can basically get into that area where uh, the ethical hacking is done. You can get into that areas. There is a certification also provided by EC Council for ethical hacking, widely recognized by the industry. So you can take it up. Yesterday, I asked about network security certificate, other than CCNA and any other. I have to still get back to you. I will just note it in my thing, but I'm not sure about what is the exact question here. It's about network security certificate rather than CCNA. Yes, someone has said hello, Saad Ansari. Sure, Saad. We have the recordings are also being taken up by the team. So you will be getting the recordings on the end of the session. So you can check and look into those things, and then you can catch up the domains, two domains. How would we get the certification on the same? Do we pay anything for it? The answer is, uh, as I said, right, this exam is free. When you register, you get a link and you get a voucher to attempt the exam. And once you pass the exam, you have successfully cleared the exam. And to get the certificate, right, from ISC2, you have to pay the around, I think, $50 or something to ISC2, where you will be directly getting the links and other things that you can pay your subscription fees to get your certificates downloaded. um, Mohammed Mujahid, I do visit the ASDC centers sometimes. We will be keeping you informed if there's something that we plan a visit in person to in person for our discussion. Mohammed Shiraz, as I said, the work is, there is some